Amazing. It is my privilege to present my teacher, our teacher, the teacher of all of us, Rabbi Lawrence A. Hoffman, Larry, Professor Emeritus of Liturgy and Worship and Ritual for almost 40 years at the New York campus of HUC. Larry has written more or edited more than 40 books. He co-founded Synagogue 2000, now Synagogue 3000, which is a trans-denominational project to envision the synagogue as a moral and spiritual center, and really the greatest liturgist in our times. It's such a privilege to have you here with us, dear Larry. Bevakasha.
Thank you so much. Yesterday saw the 76th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. And as I listened to it being on the radio, I thought to myself, how appropriate that the very next day we would be unveiling a new Siddur for the Jewish people reborn, especially in our beloved Eretz Israel, and for the Reform movement, for our Reform movement, who has always struggled, worked hard, and dedicated itself to imagining a Jewish future. I mean, new prayer books are not just newly wrapped books of prayer, they are blueprints for visions of the people for whom the books are written. And this new Siddur stands out as such a vision. It's a bold beacon of possibility. It's like a crystal ball wherein we glimpse the shape of things to come, or things at least that we pray may come, the things of life that we hold highest and dearest. Ma'aseh Shehaya, this really happened to me, a story about a synagogue visit some 50 years ago. I was concluding a lecture on prayer books when an elderly gentleman approached me and said, I see you like prayer books. So let me tell you, Rabbi, myself, I'm a prayer book. And then he explained, I survived Hitler's camps, he said. I was young and strong, I could work, but I watched others not so lucky come and go, here today, gone tomorrow, and I thought, what if, God forbid, every other Jew should die and I alone am left when all this ends to start the Jewish people all over again? And I decided I'll do it by memorizing the Siddur and passing the words of our prayers along to whoever is left on earth who will listen. So every day, all day, I rehearsed the prayers that I already knew by heart. And then when new inmates arrived, I asked them things like Yalla v'yavo, Yalla v'yavo. I know the beginning of that prayer, but then what? What comes next? And slowly but surely, I collected in my head whatever people said. He smiled. I can see that smile all these years after, and said, thank God I wasn't the last Jew. But just in case, I was ready. So you see, I'm really a prayer book. The man had it mostly right. Through most of history and even today, only the elite ever mastered the Bible, Talmud, and all the rest. But the prayer book, that was Judaism for the masses. Summaries of all we ever were and all we aim to be, squeezed between two covers. Prayer books are diaries of a people's trek through time. The prayers are diary entries. Our prayer book is the surest sign of who we are. But my prayer book man was so intent on retaining the Jewish past, he failed to see how a past simply retained but not renewed is doomed to become a museum piece under glass, and the people who guard it mere curators of the museum. Here is the certain sign that a people has decided to give up on who it is, to slowly fade away, to become at best a curio in time, an anachronism. Yes, the certain sign of writing sof pasuk, end of the matter, to our being a people with a future is to stop writing new prayers, new diary entries, stop writing new prayer books, seal the diary for all time. The genius of prayer books is precisely their open-endedness, whereby aspiring generations rewrite anew the prayer book shape and contents. And this book does that. It assembles Jewish tradition from antiquity to modern times, reinvigorated with a progressive Jewish vision, a vision born in a Jewish state and speaking to and for the Jewish people there, and not just there. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah. This new book instructs us all. From New York to Sydney, London to Cape Town, Buenos Aires, Hong Kong, Jews everywhere can learn from the way the editors have masterfully crafted a Jewish message for the 21st century. I give you but one observation because of time: the insistence on Judaism's universalism, the realization that the raison d'etre of the Jewish people, the reason for our being, is our identification with humanity writ large, to reach out into the world as a people among peoples to better life for all God's creatures. Prayer, says the introduction to this book, is the strongest expression of our humanity. So the title is Tfillat HaAdam, the prayers of human beings, or even the prayers that make us human. Not the more traditional Tfilot Yisrael, the prayers that make us Israel. Let those who wonder know that Judaism matters because it is the quintessential human experience. Following Kabbalistic custom, the morning service begins only after acknowledging the mitzvah, v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. First, to love your neighbor as yourselves. We pray for the sick of your people, Israel, and your world. The Aleinu omits the line suggesting that we Jews are more special than others. And then it adds, we are all partners, shutafim kulanu, in tikkun olam, in correcting the world's failures. Following other Reformed prayer books of late, the Kaddish invokes peace on Israel and all the world, but it uses language of Rosh Hashanah from the Mishnah, Kol ba'ei olam, all who enter the world. Just by entering the world, we become God's creatures, all of us deserving of peace, but having to labor for that peace together. And there is so much more. The poetry, the alternatives for worshipers who are not theists, the book's very beauty of holiness. But for now, we simply offer gratitude to the editors, Rabbis Dalia Marks and Alona Lisitsa, and say, with the morning prayer, Ashreinu, Ma tov chelkeinu. Happy are we, and how good is our lot to celebrate this new liturgical chapter in the history of our people.
We celebrate this Siddur as another bridge we are building between us, another way to celebrate unity through diversity, and mutual spiritual and communal enrichment and Torah Lishma. In the spirit of Tu B'Shvat, we pray this Siddur will offer fruits to feed our souls in Israel and around the world. In the spirit of Purim, we declare today, in spite of the many current challenges, ליהודים הייתה אורה ושמחה, ששון ויקר. Thank you, dear friends and partners, for being part of our Israeli family. Thank you for being our global משפחה. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן, חג סידור שמח.
מקום פנוי משכינתה, אחת וכל יחיד, כלול בייחודה, נעלמה בין קצה לאחדותה. לא גוף ולא פנים לדמותה, וערך מעל כל היא קדושתה, דומה לכל אשר בצירתה, ראשית ואין תחילה לראשיתה, עולם ואשר בו מבט עינה, אורה בעיר גדולתה ומלכותה, שביעת נבואתה העניקה, לכל אשר הם סגולתה ותפארתה, רואה אשר סגלון וחבראה, הביט באספקלריה מאירה, תורת אמת נתנה לישראל עמה, נובעת היא